This week's episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by GameV.com,
GoDaddy.com,
and Netflix.
You want to get nuts? Come on. Let's get nuts.
Three rad dudes with nothing better to do get abducted by the crew of the Starship Alpha 2. They're from the planet Q, which, due to a space-time loop, is stuck in 82 and must be rescued. They need our heroes to discuss the latest news and give their reviews of games and movies too. Sure hope you're not confused. We swear this is all true, not just the premise too. The Totally Rad Show.
Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Totally Rad Show, episode number 69. I'm Alex Albrecht.
I'm Jeff Canada. I'm Dan Trachtenberg.
The Totally Rad Show is your weekly dose of all things rad. We here at the Totally Rad Show are super above, like Superman flying above any 69 jokes.
That's right. Not even one. I'm surprised.
Stop it!
dude
Somebody
or
stop it! Stop it! All right, we have a huge show today.
Yes.
One of the things that we were lucky enough to be able to review earlies, Dark Knight. We want to thank Alex.
How badass is that?
Dude.
Yes, and what's the last name?
It's
Rosner.
It's as badass as a 69. Sorry.
Oh,
69
really?
Chevy. 69
Chevy.
Chevy.
My favorite car.
Oh my God, that's amazing. All right, never.
We don't
again
know how
that
to
number.
pronounce his name, and it seems like every week we don't know how to pronounce people's names.
If you're sending us something to be on the show, put in some sort of phonetic thing, unless you like to see us squirm
Or squeam.
or squeam, depending upon what continent you're from. Squeam is British. No, it's not.
I love ice cream. Or I should have said like I
Something-
squeam or something.
That's amazing.
I don't know.
Speaking
All right.
of amazing things that Dan is going to say or has previously said. Dan has something to admit to everybody.
Full disclosure. It's full disclosure
disclosure.
time. So take off your shirt.
Oh no.
Full disclosure.
I'm derailed. Hold
No,
on.
you're not.
Okay. all
Okay,
right,
get back on the
all right,
track.
Back on track.
Back on the track. You were a professional director, sir,
Okay.
and you worked on Hellboy 2.
Okay.
Kind of.
Sort of. So
I gave it to him.
in an effort to be fair and balanced,
Wah, wah.
I figured I should let you guys know that I directed some of the viral marketing for Hellboy 2. So they did it.
First of all, how awesome is that?
It was awesome. It was very awesome.
Very awesome.
Very awesome. I thought so. They basically did an ARG or an ARG, which is an alternative reality game, which is basically like an online scavenger hunt. They've been doing it with a lot of movies. The first one was Halo, I Love Bees.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So essentially what I did, I made some blog stuff and some like Dharma-like lost Dharma.
Some old instructional
old
stuff.
educational looking films and some like Cloverfield style crazy shit happening on video. That you can all see on YouTube. I'll give Steve the links, but if you don't want to see that, if you want to encounter it while playing the game, if you go to thesecretdevice.com, that's sort of the rabbit hole for the game.
Nice.
So that's a technical term.
Epic rabbit hole.
But I didn't actually make the movie. I didn't work on the production of the film.
We just wanted to be clear in case you found out later, and then you were like,
Right.
oh, maybe
So now
you're
you know,
sugarcoating it or whatever.
I feel that I will be fair, but you guys can take whatever I say with a grain of salt if you so choose.
And we didn't work on the film in any way.
So,
No.
all right.
Thanks for nothing, Guillermo. I kind of swallowed my tongue when I said that.
All right, punch the face. Punch the face.
Punching.
This week in movies, as I just said previously, we are talking about The Dark Knight and Hellboy 2. Two huge summer superhero movies. Once again, we are continuing our streak.
A streak of 2 superhero movies.
We're gonna start a streak of every summer. There's been a
yeah.
comic book movie
Well,
or comic book
this
or
one's
superhero
had like
every week.
7.
Every week, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We're gonna start with The Dark Knights. The Dark Knight is the sequel to Batman Begins. It stars all the same players from the first one, except Maggie Gyllenhaal replaces Katie Holmes' role. And in addition to that, unless you've been living in a rabbit hole where you may have found the secret device, you
Always plugging,
know
always
that Heath Ledger plays the Joker,
like
and
Heath Ledger.
Aaron Eckhart is in it as well. And yes, I think those are the two big notable new guys. And it's directed by the same guy, Christopher Nolan, who we all knew and loved from Memento, and we love our first ever podcast that we hosted together.
Prestige.
The very first movie that we all ever reviewed as a unit.
As a reviewing unit.
On Geek Throne 48 was The Prestige.
A review unit.
Nice. So The Dark Knight. It is basically about our fair-weathered hero, Batman, and Commissioner Gordon and Harvey Dent trying to track down the Joker. A lot of people are comparing it to Heat, and I think in many ways you could consider it to be, the Joker is Robert Downey Jr. Robert De Niro, and it's like mastermind cop versus mastermind criminal, and that is essentially the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
What did you think of the movie, Alex?
I had some very big reservations. I was probably the least excited.
We saw it in IMAX.
Oh,
I
yeah.
did see it in IMAX. Do you want to
Speak
talk
to
about
that.
the IMAX thing real quick?
Well, so
Okay.
they shot a few. So over the past couple of years, they've been blowing up prints. They've been blowing with 35 millimeter prints to 65 millimeter to show them in IMAX screens. Well, instead of just doing that for this movie, Christopher Nolan actually shot 4 or so action sequences
and a lot of interstitial.
and little tiny moments.
Yeah, little tiny moments.
In IMAX. So I think we can all talk about that experience as well, if it's worth going to the theater for that.
Sure.
How we felt.
So I was the one who was the most hesitant to see this movie. I, from the trailers, was like, oh man, Heath Ledger, I don't think so. I just was concerned. Loved Batman Begins. Could it stand up to Iron Man? Like, there's so many good movies. This movie blew me the fuck away. I loved it. It's long. It is too long in my opinion. But it's like a giant boat full of ice cream. It's all goodness, and you just go, I think that was maybe a little much for the ice cream.
You ice cream.
You ice
Too
cream.
much ice cream.
So that's literally what this movie is. It's gorgeous from beginning to end. Heath Ledger, amazing. I mean, obviously, it was a complete, utter shame that he passed away so early in his career. But not only that, after seeing this, I want to see more of this Joker, and I know I can't. Maybe a reason why I felt that way about the Joker. I don't know. It was great. Aaron Eckhart. I was blown away. I mean, I'm not against him, but I'm not a huge fan. And I was like, wow, that's a great Harvey Dent. So I loved it. I think if you liked Batman Begins, you should see it. I personally loved the IMAX. When you're sitting there, you don't really realize that it goes from letterbox to IMAX, except for the fact that when it happens, it's like you're there. I mean, it is the most amazing.
And they do it on these
thing.
helicopter shots, so you're just like, whoa.
Whoa. And they also do it in some scenes, and you're like, what the balls? This is the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen. Didn't take me out of the movie. I was worried. If you can see it in IMAX, and go see it. Loved it.
You, sir, too, sir.
This is the reason I'm a geek. This movie, this is the reason why I get excited about these genre films is because I believe that these properties have this kind of potential to them. I loved Batman Begins, but this movie surpasses Batman Begins on every level. It is actually a fulfillment of the promise of Batman Begins, which I think is a complete movie in and of itself, but there are so few sequels that take every aspect of the first film and build upon it. Gary Oldman, we realize why he was in the first movie. There is so much to this film, I can't even contain myself. I walked out of it feeling like I felt when I walked out of Iron Man, and I actually think this is a better movie for Iron Man simply because it is so much more complex and real. Every plan that the Joker has, and he has a lot, not just one. There are multiple plans in this film that they're all so smart and devious and brilliant, and you really see I think about the first Batman movie with the Keaton Batman movie, Tim Burton, with that Joker. And as much as I enjoyed it, the Joker was just this kind of over-the-top, wacky criminal.
Gangster, yeah.
The Joker in this film is a criminal mastermind, and you really see him outthink people.
But who's also crazy.
Yes. Also, real quick, I want to say I didn't realize how big of a role Aaron Eckhart would play in this movie.
Yeah.
And he's great. I love seeing, and I love that this isn't an origin story for the Joker. He just comes in and it doesn't matter all that stuff.
I love how they handle his origin story.
Well, how did you
Yes,
feel?
exactly.
Yes.
How did you feel?
Exactly.
Okay. Loved the movie. I agree. Better than the first. Breathtaking. Like, not even as hyperbolic. Like I literally was without breath. I found myself like when I was a kid watching Jurassic Park,
Yeah.
or Jaws, where you're like, and you realize, oh my God, I haven't been breathing. There is so many suspense. The tension. I was intense throughout the whole movie. There were so many. Hotel Rwanda. I remember saying that about that movie was filled. It wasn't just one tense sequence.
It was tension.
Yeah, this movie was just one giant block of there's a famous Hitchcock thing with difference between surprise and tension. And surprise is, people playing cards and a bomb goes off, and suspense is you see the bomb being planted underneath the table and it ticks away, and then they're playing cards. There were so many literal and figurative ticking time bombs in this movie. I love how it's shot.
But in a way you've never seen before. Those ticking time bombs in a way you've never seen before.
Yeah.
I love the taste of Christopher Nolan. I love the way the Joker is shot. His taste, like
how he tastes. Like you've licked it.
Actually, it tastes like candy.
The way he chooses to shoot the Joker, the way he chooses to shoot some explosions, so they're not just fireballs. There's moments that happen within an explosion.
Oh, dude. There's
moments
some
before
moments
and stuff.
with Joker and explosions that the performance of Joker, you can't eat. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
you know what else I love about this movie? It's really not a superhero movie.
No.
It's like a James Bond movie mixed with Seven. It feels like the best James Bond movie you've ever seen mixed with the tension and craziness of Seven.
right.
I will
With
say
less
too.
gore and weirdness.
About my impression of the IMAX, I want to hear your impression of the IMAX too. The sequences that were shot in
'Cause you were
IMAX
worried.
and the opening scenes in IMAX, insane.
I know. I wanted it throughout the whole movie.
Did exactly. I was distracted, and I am not a big fan of when it's not shot in IMAX. Those sequences, I think it's a little muddy. I think it's unclear. I think it's better looking in a regular screen, but the ice cream was tasted so good.
The boat of ice cream.
It's worth it.
I will tell Steve, who hasn't had a chance to see it yet, I think you should see it in IMAX.
Yeah.
I know you got your ticket already, but
Cancel it. Doesn't
it
matter.
is.
It's worth it.
It really
Oh my
is.
God.
It really
It's a
is worth
different
it. I
movie.
think.
Yeah.
Did you think it's worth it?
And that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
as much as I didn't like it when it wasn't in IMAX, like when there's just blown up, the IMAX stuff is freaking worth it.
Gorgeous.
I know. I will say too. This was apparent in the first one, but maybe he didn't talk as much. But really, Christian Bale's voice, it's nitpicky. And I know why they
because he
had
has
to
so much
choose
more
that.
dialogue.
But
Exactly.
this one also, as Batman, with this one, I thought he even went further into the like.
I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Batman.
that's what I'm talking about.
We're talking about
That's
I
what I'm
don't
talking
like
about.
that. I don't like that at all.
It really does sound like a 4-year-old trying to impersonate a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about the score. Because
Okay.
the score is phenomenal.
Now,
I didn't notice it, but go ahead.
I will say, I'm glad you brought that up. The score, as far as I can tell, there's no new cues in this one from the first one, but we never talked about the first one.
Right.
The score is unbelievable, and I think this score, if you listen to this score and you listen to the score to the Tim Burton Batman, you know what film scores were doing in the 80s and what film score is now. They are perfect examples. The other thing I think perfectly summarizes where modern filmmaking is now, where Batman, the bat signal, and Tim Burton,
So
clean
so
and crisp and
crisp,
whatever,
yeah.
and our bat signal, it's fuzzy.
But I want to know what you mean by that. What you mean by what music is doing now and what music is doing then.
Before we had big fanfare themes, and now and music was more. There's a march guy who did marching music, and the dude who did Kurzweil, whatever. John Williams sort of based all his music off of that, and then people sort of riffed off of John Williams. Even Danny Elfman, who had his own spin on it, but it was all fanfare. And now we have more ambient, mood, atmospheric.
There's also a pace. The pace of this movie,
driving.
you jump right into it. There's no warning. You're there. You're going, and you never stop. And the score reinforces that. It's almost breathless. And I think for me, the structure of this movie is amazing. And I think that's one of the things that Nolan excels at. He and his brother, who are the co-writers, excel at. Is it works as a perfect little object.
Well, but now,
the
did
way
you
we
think
start
it
and
was
where
too
we
long?
end.
Did you think
I
it was
didn't
too
think it was too
long?
long. No.
Did you have that feeling?
It was too
'Cause
long.
I had
but
that feeling.
There's nothing I didn't want to see. But
I wouldn't change a frame of
That's
this movie.
exactly what I meant about the
Okay.
boat.
Okay. Next movie, Hellboy 2. The sequel to Hellboy, based on the hit comic by Mike Mignola. And
Dark Horse comic?
Dark Horse comic. It is furthering adventures of Hellboy. It's Hellboy, and it's more of a BPRD story, which is the other comic that Mike Mignola does, and it's about the elfish or troll world.
Yeah, you should know this pretty well.
I know. I'm trying to separate, but
Yeah.
that world coming into in our world, and our paranormal investigators are dealing with other kin. So
Nice.
Sounds like an Outlander.
what did you think of it, Jeffrey?
Well, what we have this week are two very, very different comic book movies, right? We have Dark Knight, which takes its subject matter very seriously, grounds it very really in the real world, very solidly in the real world. And Hellboy, which is Guillermo del Toro, why can't I say his name today? Anyway, it's his...
It's actually pronounced Wellmo. No, I don't know.
Tickle Me Wellmo?
That would be awesome. Anyway, we're here with Wellmo del Toro. What the
He's
hell?
like-
Who's everybody getting this information from? He worked directly with you.
So he handles this fantasy stuff very well. His creatures and stuff, the effects of this movie are great. I had a fun time watching this movie. It's unfortunate that I saw it in the shadow of The Dark Knight because nothing really can hold up to it. I even found myself thinking less of Iron Man after I saw Dark Knight, of like the ending of Iron Man. Oh, it could have been better.
Yeah.
This is a review of
Hellboy 2.
Hellboy 2. Hellboy 2 is I don't care about these characters. Okay, I none of them.
And you never read the comics either.
I wasn't into this comic. No. Their comedy beats aren't particularly funny. Their relationships aren't particularly interesting or well wrought. I think Guillermo del Toro is a great visionary filmmaker, and I had a great time watching the spectacle of this film. But I don't think he's a particularly good writer, and I didn't really care enough. I just was having a fun roller coaster ride.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way. I think I maybe liked it a little bit better than you did. Because I actually do like, I think the characters are really cool. I think it's a cool look into, it feels like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen to me, with the sort of
movie.
hodgepodge of the movie.
Yeah.
The sort of hodgepodge of characters that you kind of think somehow, you know what I mean? Like, because there isn't like a Batman and everybody who's in that universe, and when they pop onto the screen, you're like, oh, that's Patissa! You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, here's a new weird guy. This guy seems cool, but I have no connection to that person outside of the fact that I've just seen him now in the movie. But I had a good time. I really liked it. I think I'm a big fan of Guillermo del Toro's sort of fantasy stuff. All that, the lady with the eyes and the wings, like all that stuff just is kind of visually so appealing that I think for me it forgives a lot of the sort of like, do I really care that Selma Blair and Hellboy are dating? No, not really. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know, I had a good time. Yeah.
I think this is finally we get a live action Miyazaki movie.
Wow. Interesting.
I like the movie very much. I do not love it. Let me say some of the things I like about it. I love the practical effects.
Yes.
Yes.
There is so much in this movie. There's a mixture of practical and CG, but there is so many practical effects. And I don't want to be this guy, but I did have the pleasure of seeing it at very early stages, and I saw so much of the movie because they made so much of it.
Yeah.
His hand, the guy who shoots his hand out and it retracts, that really happened.
That's
that
cool.
really retracted, not CG. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
It's
love that moment when they go into the market. It felt like the original trilogy of Star Wars.
Yes.
We're really there.
Yes.
Totally. This is like a fine, putting a magnifying glass on something, but I have a thing I've expressed. I do not like the wire fu kung fu movies of the Asian style, where people are very floaty and whatever. I thought
fights were
this
actually
was the
pretty good.
best
Yeah.
use. People actually had weight when they jumped. They didn't like float. Come to find out, you know how they did those sequences? Not with wires.
Oh.
Trampolines. A system of trampolines.
No, they had Ron Perlman jumping on a trampoline?
Well, or his stunt guy, but I think
Yeah.
a lot was
Bill
anyway. Bill Pullman.
No, Bill Pullman is Ron.
What I
Perlman's
think the movie lacks is that it's a lot of really fun, cool set pieces
Yeah.
that are strung along with
Thin Fred. Tinsel.
Floss?
yeah. I mean,
Tinsel
like, it's just the plot
Wire
is
fu?
very thin,
Yeah.
but the set pieces are great, and there's the stuff that happens in between. It's
Yeah.
hard to
Felt
be
too much
interested.
it felt too much like a video game. Like there was a series of boss battles, and the main villain is literally out of a Capcom game. I mean,
Yeah.
he's like from Devil May Cry or something.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Although I will say, I kind of like that they got onto like the Tooth Fairies, and I thought
That
they
was
were going to
cool.
go.
That's my favorite sequence
But
in the
see,
movie.
I thought they were going to go down that road of everything
Lore.
in
Fairy
fairy
tale.
tales. It has a real, you
Yeah.
know, which I would
Should read
really like.
Fables.
Yep, I'm going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the third act kind of falls apart too, in the sense that, you know, there's no danger if because of what happens at the end happens. There really shouldn't have been any danger.
I also need to say, I watched this movie before they had the voice. It was just subtitled for Johann Kraus.
Who's Johann
Oh,
Kraus?
it's
Who's
Seth
Seth
MacFarlane from Family Guy.
Wow.
Oh wow, I would.
Mind blowing. Dude.
I just wanted to say
I mean, I was, when my first experience watching the movie, I was sort of, just that voice, it brought sense of humor to that guy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it made me enjoy those scenes with him so much. And I thought, when I read Seth MacFarlane, I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be ridiculous. And it was great.
Yeah, I don't know if I even needed to know that it was Seth MacFarlane. That
Well,
doesn't
that's
do anything
awesome.
to me. Right? No, I
That's
mean,
such a testament. Like,
it
he
is,
wasn't
it
doing
is.
funny voice.
No,
Right.
yeah.
But yet it did bring humor, but without being cartoony humor.
It did seem weird when Peter Griffin showed up.
that was where they jumped the shark.
You just deflated everything.
Literally jumping the
Deflated him
plastic
like his
shark.
character.
That, oh, that happened.
So in the spirit of The Dark Knight, we went back for our comic book section this week and read one of the classic Batman stories. It's actually even more than that, it's a classic Joker story, and it's The Killing Joke, and it's a book that was released in 1988, and it's written by Alan Moore, the epic Alan Moore, whose Watchmen we reviewed, and who also wrote V for Vendetta and From Hell and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which you mentioned in this
The comic,
episode.
not the movie.
The comic, not the movie. He
Actually, for
doesn't
all of
have
those.
anything to do with the movies. He very much stays away from that. And it's also drawn by Brian Bolland, or Boland, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, whose art
It's Wellmo.
whose art I adore. He doesn't really do art any inside interiors anymore, but he does a lot of covers for DC books still.
Inside interiors. That's a really cool inside baseball way to say it.
Anyway, so this is basically, it was a one-shot that was released in 1988, and is basically the Joker origin story, or one version of the Joker origin story. And the really interesting thing about it is that it kind of uses elements that were introduced way back in 1951 of this kind of Red Hood character that the Joker was for a little bit in the comics. It's a complicated tale that interweaves flashback with modern time, and it pits Batman against the Joker, and we are told at the beginning that eventually one of them is going to kill the other. I'm very interested to hear what you think about this book, Dan, because you are on the record as
that?
being
Oh, I
very...
do. He doesn't give a shit about me.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about
That's
it.
right.
Okay.
It's okay.
You're on the
Mutual,
record as
it's
being
mutual.
very anti-Alan Moore,
Yes.
right? Who's, kind of hurts my soul a little bit every time you say that.
I haven't done into that.
But this is a very different kind of story than Watchmen.
I actually have enjoyed a couple of issues I've read of Top 10 and the other one. Top 10 and the other one with just a superhero guy. I've enjoyed those.
He did a run on Supreme, is that what you're talking about?
No, there's Top 10 and there's another one. We'll come up with it later. I don't want to tie up time.
Okay.
That whole
Maybe it's
line.
Supreme.
You're still doing it.
Okay, all right. So anyway, I seem to not like his more literary efforts. but I like his.
Well, what's the difference? I mean,
What did you think of this one?
Okay, The Killing Joke. Now, let me say, Killing Joke might be the first graphic. It is the first graphic novel I ever bought. It's not the first graphic novel that I ever bought that I still own because my mom confiscated it from me when she saw.
Your mom confiscated it.
There's a sequence with pictures that are very risque. And
really not that bad.
That was when I was
But when you're a
it was
kid,
1988. I was 7 years old.
Shot.
And
there you go.
and it was where we discovered suggested for mature readers on comics, and I was then only allowed to get comics approved by the Comics Code. Anyway, love Killing Joke, love it. It is amazing because it's the art is incredible. Incredible. It's very realistic, but simplified. We'll call it.
Rhea simplified?
Rimplified. I don't know.
Rimplified. That sounds way
But
not sexy.
it's wonderful art, and I don't know who to attribute, if it's the artist or the writer, but the things that are chosen as shots or the frames, you could not translate it in a movie. I don't think it works in a movie to have like a perspective shot of a point of view shot of Batman's hands, and he's just grabbing the Joker and he looks up and then he sees the white streaks on his hands and he says a line there that's very poignant to what you're seeing. If I saw that shot in the movie, it would feel kind of hokey.
Well,
and that just goes to say that comics are so their own art form, and
that's what I would argue is the genius of Alan Moore. I mean, he's famous for writing novels about what should be in the frame,
right?
And I would suggest that's probably the case in this instance. And I think, that's what I love about Watchmen too. And I'm surprised you love it here and don't like that.
Watchmen and V for Vendetta and those things are all very dense. And League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, very dense and literary. And this is sparse. There's not. It's actually very. There's some of the writing that I don't like. But because the ideas that are expressed are so rad, it has some of the problems that I've expressed in many comic book segments, where it's very expository and people are speaking words that is not very human behavior. It's comic book behavior. But because what they're saying is like the best of comic book behavior, I don't care. And I know this issue that we read was recolored, but the like flashbacks are in black and white, and yet specific things are in like. Brilliant. Yes. Once again, this is its own art form, and it's if you're a fan of art, I think looking at this book is worth it.
I had an interesting reaction to it. I liked
rash?
it.
Some sort of rash?
Yeah, it was sort of this weird rash, and it had a face. I don't know. I called it Bill Pullman. Anyway, it's a callback joke. I had a weird reaction to this book. I read it. It was good. I wasn't bowled over by it. I was kind of like, Joker origin story. I don't really want one. I don't really need one. You know what I mean? Like, I just was like, I kind of got the vibe of like, if I was more a Batman guy, I would like it more.
A Batman man.
A Batman man. A Batman man.
I don't. Incidentally, real quick on that, just to interrupt you on a complete tangential thing.
Yeah.
I had a friend who wrote a sketch about Spider-Man Man. It was a guy who got bitten by a radioactive Spider-Man, and he became Spider-Man Man.
That's
Anyway,
good.
go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway, back from the tangent. That said, I read something at the back of the book that was the guy, and I don't know if it was the creator of the Joker or what, I can't remember who it was, but he had said something about the fact that when it was pitched to him, was it Tim Sale?
I think it was.
Tim Sale wrote the intro to the. We read the deluxe edition, which is the new hardback that was released in 2007.
Yeah, so this had like a little backstory from somebody. I couldn't remember
Oh, it was
who
the artist. It was the artist.
Yeah.
Brian Boland wrote the back one.
Okay.
Tim Sale wrote the forward.
So it was the back one, and the back guy was like, when this was brought to us and said that we're gonna do, this Joker origin story, he was like, I don't really like that because Joker, there shouldn't be an origin story. Like that's one of the things that I love about him is that it's sort of vague. It's not about that. And he said that the way that he kind of came to grips with this was that this was one story that a crazy mind could make. At the time he's feeling these flashbacks and remembering this is what this crazy man thinks happened.
Right. And that's clear in the text, I would say. It's clear in the story that they make that clear.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, for me, I was just like, that's a cool origin story. I don't, But I will say, watching Dark Knight after reading this book made me fall in love with the book. because of the fact of the way that Joker kind of handles his story, it just like reiterate. I can see how, for me, reading this book was actually beneficial for me seeing Dark Knight. And there was even some things in there, not just about, there was another thing that tied in together, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was great. I will say there's definitely a moment in that book, there's a couple moments in the book where you literally, I was reading the book and went, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, there's shocking moments in a comic book, which I think is hats off to Alan Moore, because that it is a difficult medium because of the fact that everything is happening in your peripheral vision to come to a page that literally shocks you with the action and makes you kind of, and that's very rare.
It really changed. It was a one-shot. It didn't happen in the context of the Batman comics. It's standalone one-shot, and it really established a new origin for Barbara Gordon, who became the Oracle after that and went into Birds of Prey and all that stuff.
We should have mentioned maybe at the beginning too that the Dark Knight, Killing Joke, and Long Halloween, which is also discussed in the show, were and one other Batman book are influences on
Dark Knight Returns and Year One are so those are the four kind of the pantheon.
But I think Killing Joke and Long Halloween, given the characters that are in them, were specific influences on Dark Knight and also the.
I'm sure you guys definitely saw a lot of Long Halloween in the movie.
Definitely. Definitely.
I of course love. This is my favorite Batman story. I like the Frank Miller Batman stuff, but this, even though Alan Moore and Brian Boland both discount kind of how great this ranks, I think this is the best Batman story. Structurally, again, like I said with the movie, it works so well. And I hadn't read this in years, and I'm so glad that I couldn't. I don't know what the hell happened to my original copy that I had when I was a little kid, but I'm so glad that we had to go out and get the new deluxe version.
Yeah.
Probably your mom took it. Actually, that works. The deluxe version, like you said, is recolored by the original artist. He was very vocal at the time of being against how it was colored, and it was kind of garish and odd. And I'm just flabbergasted at how great the new color scheme works. I'm so glad I reread it with that. It's phenomenal, and I suggest, even if you've read the story, check out the deluxe edition. The intro and the bonus story, An Innocent Man, that Brian Bowen wrote, is also really cool. It's a great, like I said, we get it all the time. People ask us, how do I get into comics? This is a great intro to Batman comics. You watch the movie and you want more, perfect.
Or the other way around, if you want to really feel the movie land in that way that you feel, because I feel that way sometimes. I feel jealous of people who know the inside joke. Like when I see Iron Man.
The Killing Joke.
Yeah, like when I see Iron Man, I see it as a one-off movie that I love, but there are people who are like, oh, that's how they're doing this. And I always feel like less than.
Yeah.
And this is a good way to kind of get your feet wet into what's happening in the comic quickly to then go into the movie and go, I know who that, like, you know, Barbara when stuff happens and you're like, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yep. Next week, actually, when this comes out, we'll be knee-deep in E3. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna take our balls out, lay them on the table, and see, because what will happen, we're gonna talk about E3 and what we think.
Do that.
We're gonna have to. You're gonna have to lay them on the table and see who's gets squished. Because we're gonna find out we're gonna talk about what we think is gonna happen with E3. And by the time this episode comes out, it'll have happened. We'll be knee deep in it.
Oh, I thought we were gonna play Bloody Knuckles with our nuts.
Well, you guys, that's what you can do if you choose, but I'm...
That's horrible. Whose nutsack is gonna bleed first? I don't want to play this game. Bang.
Bloody Nutsicles.
I was, having a little fun.
No, I was
a great
having fun
metaphor.
too.
Well, but your fun is painful. Okay.
No, you suggested that.
E3, when this episode comes out, E3, the big press events will some of them will have happened, some of them will be happening as this episode comes out. So I want to go through the big three like we did last year and see what we know is going to happen, what we think will be happening, and what just pie in the sky, what would make us the happiest little girls that could ever prance down the lane.
Well, after our nuts are taken off, we be girls.
Did you say, now,
See, it all works out.
I was thinking of really bad jokes to make. Did you say that we're gonna have tons of coverage in the following week's show, so they will see all of our.
Yeah,
that was
no,
mentioned.
I should say this is going to have come out, but you should first of all follow all of us on Twitter because we're going to be twittering from all the. We're going to have massive E3 coverage, and it's going to be next week's show. So this is where we lay it on the line and try to come up. I've talked for half an hour. I haven't
All
done anything.
right.
So let's talk
So,
about Microsoft.
Microsoft.
Xbox 360.
some
We
rumors?
know for sure Gears of War 2 is going to have a big presence.
Of course.
We're all excited about that.
Yes,
Correct.
of course.
None of us more than you, I'm sure.
Probably not.
We know Fable 2 will have a big presence.
Which we're very excited about because last year we talked extensively about the dog mechanic.
We did. Dogma.
Dog mechanic.
And there is definitely going to be at least one new core surprise announcement at the show. We know that because we saw a little bit of internal memoing from Microsoft that said that there was some big core title. We know Banjo-Kazooie, Fable 2, Gears of War 2, but there's this other thing, and we don't know what that's going to be.
Oh, I see what you mean.
What kind of game would make you guys the happiest? I mean, another first-person shooter, another third-person action game? Is that another
What would make you happy?
Space Marine type of dude?
What would make you happy?
What are you saying?
He's saying Halo 4, but it's way too
maybe
early.
it's the Peter Jackson Halo Chronicles thing that we heard way back 2 years ago that said Peter Jackson was going to do a Halo game. Would that get you excited?
No. Halo games don't get me excited anymore.
Yeah.
After 3 was the opportunity to get me re-excited about the IP, the franchise. That was what it was. Because 2 I thought was less than, 3 was just 2 on drugs. So now 4, I feel like we're so far away from what I loved in 1 that, I don't know.
What are you excited for?
Well, I asked you first.
I'm asking you.
I'll tell you what
rubbing your
I tell you
glove.
what I'm excited that it may be, and what I'm hoping it is a TiVo blade.
A what?
A TiVo blade.
So your 360 works as a TiVo. That could be. That's a really interesting balls on the table. See, Alex knows how to play this game.
Wait, what happened?
Some people are saying that Microsoft's going to introduce a motion controller. Would that get your
Not
motor
at all.
started?
Boo,
Nope.
hiss. That's just jumping on the Wii bandwagon and does not gonna blah, blah, blah.
But I would
What
love to
about-
play some of those Wii games in HD on a 360.
Yeah, but
What about an MMO RPG for the 360?
I have actually been very excited about the possibility of an MMO on the consoles. It has been tried. There've been a couple, like Phantasy Star Online is sort of was.
Final Fantasy 12 or 11 or whatever. Was it 11 or 12?
Yeah, but I don't want
want-
where I need a wireless keyboard
Right,
to play it.
exactly.
I want this.
Right, which I think they should be able to do. I mean, you can have like if
We're gonna get
spatial.
APB has been in development. It's that like Grand Theft Auto as an MMO.
Now I
kinda
will
deal.
say, I just
But we're talking just
happened to me. I got sucked the hell in. I played the demo for Civ Revolutions.
Yeah.
So I never thought there was a space in my heart for this kind of game. I mean, when I was a kid, I would play Warcraft 3. I was telling you guys, but like this was, I played Civ 4 for my Mac till like 4 in the morning last night, literally.
It was Civ 4 in the morning. That's
Yeah,
what I mean.
that's exactly. So,
Actually,
but guess what? So what
that
happened,
addictive.
guys? I got hooked on the console version of an RTS, which is basically the same. They were able to make a game that's notoriously only mouse and click and streamline it, so it is fun on this thing. It works.
I'd love to talk
So
more
if
about
they
that
can
in a-
do
Rings is
that.
supposedly really good. I played a little bit of
Which
the Lord
one?
of the Rings RTS
Yeah.
on the console and the way they manage the buttons. I
Well,
thought
So
Universe
they can
at
do
War is
that,
supposed to
that's
have solved
basically-
it.
what's it-
Universe at War supposedly solved it. We played a little Supreme Commander because the guys at Asper were really cool and sent us a copy. I didn't really dig that, but I'm very interested to play Civ Revolutions. So you're saying an RTS like what Halo Wars?
No, well, I'm saying MMORPG can work on a console without a keyboard because they could do this mouse, notoriously only mouse and click kind of thing.
My only problem is with the MMOs on the console is I am paying for the game. I am paying for a service to be online with the game. I do not want to pay. I will not pay another monthly subscription fee. I'm just not going to do it. I don't even pay to download the new maps for games. So my biggest fear is that.
What's the difference? If it would come out on the PC, you would pay for it.
Yeah, but
What's
it's
the
that
difference?
it's that thing of first off, I don't know if I'm even going to like it.
Well, but
That's
that's
No, but
assuming you like it.
Assuming I like it, I just feel like that's not the agreement that we have built over the years. That's
well,
the same thing.
it wasn't the agreement you built on the PC until that game came out.
No, I know, and there was a lot of
So-
flack, and
right,
it
well,
took me
so-
until from EverQuest to World of Warcraft,
Right.
5 years
Actually,
later, or
no,
whatever.
Galaxy.
Well, what I think
Star Wars Galaxies, but that was all.
what would
that was
excite
free.
me on the
That was a
360
show. What?
What would excite me on the 360 is a role-playing game, a real like full-on. I mean, I loved Lost Odyssey. I want to see
You
it
know
like
what?
a giant.
I would do a role-playing game with some co-op. It doesn't have to be an MMO, but something where I can feel like
Just a co-op role.
getting
Two
my
human?
guy better. It's what two
human?
humans can be, really.
What if they announce a Blu-ray player for 360?
They won't do that.
That doesn't jiggle my anything.
No, but I mean, I'm
Those are
saying
right
they
there
might
on the
announce that,
table.
though.
Well, I have a Blu-ray player. It's called my PS3, and it works great.
Let's talk about the PS3.
Okay, let's talk about Sony. I was gonna go Wii next, but since you pulled that up,
Dude,
that's cool.
segue.
PS3. So the big games we know of: Resistance 2, Killzone 2, Little Big Planet. That's sort of the trifecta.
Little Big Planet I'm excited about. I'm not excited about any first-person shooter on the PS3 because I do not enjoy playing that first-person shooter with that controller. I just don't.
Well, you got to get over that because those games are gonna be badass.
Well,
Those games are gonna be
hopefully
badass.
they'll let me transcend
I'm
the bad
ready
ergonomics.
I'm ready to be badassified, but I do not have any pre-excitement for them.
I
But
do-
except for
Little
Little
Big
Big
Planet.
Planet.
Little Big Planet, yes. What, Dan? What about teaser for God of War 3? Would you?
Yes.
That would make your
Yes.
happy day.
God of War 3, being able to play new Prince of Persia, that's where, you know.
Well, we are playing a new Prince of Persia. Tune in next week for Dan's reactions to that because
Oh my
we're meeting
God.
with Ubisoft and they're.
And
so.
if we could play the parkour game, Faith,
Mirror's Edge.
Mirror's Edge.
Faith Mirror's Edge, yeah.
Let me blow your guys' mind because there's also talk of a motion controller for the PS3 of
Whatever.
like
that stuff to me
the
seems
breakaway
like,
idea that would.
hey,
like,
it wasn't our idea. Let's jump on it, and it's
yeah,
gonna
but that's what everybody does, you know. It's whatever.
fit. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that seems like a step back to me.
Let me blow your guys' mind for Pie in the Sky.
Okay.
Right? I had this epiphany and I want to lay it on the line. 6-axis, right?
Yeah.
It seems to me all of the implementation of the 6-axis thus far, most of it at least, has been stop using the rest of the controller and start using it like this.
Okay.
Rather than using it in conjunction. Now, I didn't play much of Lair, and I don't know if they did this, but what if, bend your mind around this, boys. What if there's like a Space Harrier type of a game, right?
I like where you're
Now
going.
you're speaking.
You're playing.
Ceiling comes down on me, and I'm.
Right? You're playing, and you add leaning. So your guy's in a jetpack, and he can lean, so you can fly that way, but lean this way, and it changes the physics of how you're flying in a jetpack. So you like lean and push forward, or lean forward, and that'd be awesome. I mean, Dead Space is kind of like that jetpacky thing, but what if they implemented the 6-axis? Would that tickle your
I
whistle?
don't like. I've never enjoyed
I
the
mean,
6-axis
it's tough.
ever. So.
It might blind my mend, but
I don't know.
You gave him an aneurysm.
I
for
know.
that.
but it doesn't right now without
Alright.
playing it because
I'll tell you-
I go back to we all only have so much fun with the Wii, and then we like to go back with this. So and you know to be more physical, I'll do something physical. I want to do something non-physical. Let me
Right.
do it, and that sounds fairly complicated. I mean,
I love that
'cause you know
about
what? Yeah, but it's hard doing. Remember we played Heavenly Sword, and it was hard to navigate those
But
arrows.
that was like-
now imagine doing that, and you have to do this.
I think this is just
What
leaning-
But maybe
I don't
I'm
Game designers, get on my idea.
We'll see what happens.
What would it take for Sony for you to be like super excited about PS3? Nothing, impossible.
Nothing. There's no Sony property that I have that Gears of War type. What?
Uncharted 2.
Yes,
Uncharted
see,
2?
Uncharted 2. Like
What about
Uncharted didn't really do anything. So there's
No, I
no
understand.
Sony property that, to me, there's nothing on the PS3 so far that's been like Gears of War. You know what I mean? That's been like Call of Duty
Really?
4. Yeah.
What's the difference between Gears of War and Resistance 2 or Killzone 2? I think both of those are just as exciting.
I didn't enjoy either.
Well,
of
he
those.
loved Gears of War.
I
and
loved
making
Gears
a
of War,
sequel
and
to
I
it.
didn't
He didn't
like-
love Resistance.
Infamous.
Yes, from that trailer. Yes.
Which one's Infamous?
Infamous is kind of Crackdown. You know, it's that open world environment, but you have superpowers, and you can do.
Sure, it was like the guy bending, like he jumped on the car. He like jumped on the
I
light,
don't
street
remember.
light, and on the
Yeah,
car.
it's third-person giant environment. Go everyone, do whatever you
I'm not a
want.
big third-person giant environment guy.
Yeah.
Like Crackdown, Grand Theft. It's just not my thing.
All right.
So we.
The Wii. We don't know anything about what they're going to announce Nintendo's going to announce with the Wii. I mean, really, we don't. There's talk, I know it might tickle your whistle about, that's my new thing now, evidently, tickling the whistle, about Kid Icarus.
Yes.
You would like that.
Of course, I love Kid
Oh, a
Icarus.
new Kid Icarus?
Yeah.
I mean, Super
Mario
Smash Brothers
Galaxy
kind of got
style?
me excited about
Yeah,
Kid
that got me
Icarus.
excited about it, but that was wrong implementation.
Like Mario Galaxy with Kid Icarus flying around. That
be-
might do your
that-
jetpacky thing.
That'd be pretty
Yeah,
fun.
that'd be awesome.
Pretty fun.
They supposedly are guaranteeing some new thing that'll satisfy the hardcore market, some new game that they haven't talked about before.
That's cool.
Is there? I mean, we've had the Zelda on the Wii, we've had the Mario on the Wii. We've,
Yeah.
you know,
Mario Kart. Also.
we had Mario Kart, we had Super Smash Bros.
And
Is there a
Metroid, right?
proper
There is a
Metroid on the Wii already? Is there a property that you guys want?
Mike
that-
Tyson's Punch Out, Wii style?
Really?
It's Wii boxing.
That's what you want?
I'm just, no.
That is
No,
what.
it's just an idea that you
got.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, the Wii again is there's nothing.
How about anticipation?
Loved.
I loved
I have it at home. I have a Nintendo Entertainment System, and
should play it.
Anticipation
That'd be
is the
great.
only game that I have.
I would get to top level, you
Yep.
fall all the way
What
down.
about a new peripheral for the Wii? What do you think that'd be cool?
All the peripherals so far have been crap.
Well, you are so negative hater pants over
Which
here.
one? Which one's good?
But you took home the Wii Fit because you were like,
Wii
I
Fit.
love this,
no,
so amazing.
Wii Fit
Well,
was
that's a
good.
big
I
peripheral.
didn't,
That's
think,
the
I
second
didn't
big-
think of the Wii Fit. I was thinking of the Zapper
That
and
sucks.
Call of Duty 3. I was thinking of
What was
the
that?
drivey bullshit and
Yeah.
the drivey bullshit 3. Those are what I was thinking of.
What if they made it like a VR
I can put it-
chamber?
I like the Virtual Boy.
That sounds cool. I will say, for me, obviously, playable Wrath of the Lich King. That is what I'm excited about. WoW 5.2 is internal.
So you said Mirror's Edge. Any other big game? Like, what about like a big? What if
Mirror's Edge is a
Half-Life
big
Episode
one.
3? What if they showed some of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow, I didn't even think that was an option.
What?
Brother,
Why not?
They might show
Guys, our
Bioshock.
balls are out
This is-
there. Pie in the sky.
Pie in the sky, balls on the table.
Oh, I didn't
Like
even.
Bioshock 2.
Yeah, well, they are going to show Bioshock 2, aren't they?
No, I don't think I'm
What are my favorite games? Oh, Call of Duty 5, but we've heard not good things about that.
I've actually heard very good. Gunnar was loving it.
I thought he said it wasn't good.
He said it was good.
Who said it wasn't what?
Anyway.
Anyway, we'll find out tomorrow.
Anything? And what like shock your, blow your mind, surprise? No, nothing. Anybody?
Dude,
Bueller?
playable Diablo 3.
Well, that would
Fireball
be
Island.
amazing.
Fireball Island for the.
All right,
for the
Now you're just
360.
pandering.
punch it out and see some E3.
See you next week. Follow us on Twitter.
So before we get to our email today, we do want to thank our sponsors like GameV.com. GameV.com is the place to post and share your video game videos. Also, there's an API right now. There's an API which is allowing people to utilize the structural integrity that is GameV.com on their own web projects very successfully. Also, Dig.com and Revision 3 are having a challenge.
What?
Yes. Some of the employees at Dig and some of the employees at Revision 3 are challenging each other by posting videos of the gameplay footage of them playing Rock Band. They've posted it on GameV.com, so head to GameV.com, vote on which one you think are playing the game better. Dig.com or Revision 3, your winner gets the onus of being the winners.
That's a good
They
onus.
have that onus on
Love
them.
it.
GoDaddy.com is also another one of our sponsors. They're a great place if you're looking to get a domain name as low as $1.99. They have easy startup software and hosting options. And they're also a great place if you're not looking for a long-term contract. They could do a non-long-term contract, which might be
What
called a
was that?
short-term contract.
No.
Go to GoDaddy.com, register your domain name, use our code TRS1 when you check out. You get an additional 10% off, and it'll help us out. So please, plug away on that code.
Love it.
I am talking to you about Netflix, which is, of course, online renting. They have over 75,000 titles, including Blu-ray titles. A title I'd like to recommend is
He like does this little recommend.
Insomnia. Did you guys see Insomnia?
Yes, I loved. Yes.
So Insomnia came after Memento and before Batman Begins for
That was the
Christopher
one with Robin
Nolan.
Williams?
Robin Williams and
Alec Baldwin.
No.
no,
Al Pacino.
Yes.
Albert.
Wait.
Ice Cream Man, big time.
You thought it was a chorus.
No, I thought it was.
So,
that's
and that is a
creepy ice-
great
Steve has the
movie
creepy
that
ice cream
went
man.
completely under the radar.
I love that movie, yes. Excellent.
In retrospect,
I think I only saw parts. I should see it again.
yeah, totally.
I mean the whole thing.
So they have 40 shipment centers, so you get the movie that you put at the top of your queue basically the next day. Plans start as low as $4.99 and up. You get a 2-week free trial. if you go over to www.netflix.com/TRS.
Very, very eloquent. So, our email today comes to us direct from a buddy of ours that we met in New York, Dan.
at the meetup.
At the New York meetup. So basically, Dan K, I'm summarizing his story here. A couple years ago, he was riding the subway home to work, or subway to work. This is what happens when I summarize.
You get it wrong.
Get it
That's
wrong.
what happened.
He was going to Colorado
And it takes
on
just
the
as
subway.
long.
Twice as long.
Yeah.
And somebody was reading Spider-Man Civil War II.
No.
Just
Civil War II?
No. They were in the newspaper, and the newspaper posted the cover of Civil War #2, which came out that day, and it revealed the fact that Spider-Man was revealing his identity.
Oh.
Which, spoilers if you didn't know.
Yeah.
Well,
Also, he read in the newspaper that they spoiled some of the season finale of in the newspaper the day after it was aired of 6 Feet Under.
Right.
So his question is, what is the biggest / worst thing that you've ever had spoiled for you, and/or do you think spoilers should have a shelf life? For example, do you think someone should be spoiled about Citizen Kane and have the experience of seeing it for the first time ruined for them simply because they were born after it came out?
How can you say yes to that?
You can probably
Yes,
tell
think
how
they
I
should.
feel, so clearly I think he thinks. Thanks for the radness, Dan K. Dan, good question. Dan,
Yeah.
I pose that question to you, sir.
No, there's no shelf life. I understand. You know, we were talking, Steve had Usual Suspects ruined for him, and he said, I don't care.
Oh, was that what you were going to say?
Is that your story? That wasn't you.
No.
I know, but it
Well, you didn't think of
I
you.
was there. You just heard it today. I was in his life at that
He told
point.
it to us a while ago.
Nah, that's right.
All right.
But anyway, and Steve said, well, it was 11 years ago. And I was like, it doesn't matter. There's someone today that if we said the ending right now, we could ruin it for a 14-year-old who, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, or 30-year-old.
Who hasn't seen it, yeah.
But for me, I haven't had a big movie spoiled, but I had a movie inadvertently spoiled for me with my roommate before The Village came out. He's like, dude, we watched the trailer, and he goes, dude, if it's just blank, and he said the end, what was eventually the end of the movie, that's gonna suck. And I was like, it's not, blah, blah, blah. And then I went to the movie, and I was like, wait, really? But that he said that to me.
Yeah.
So.
You said that. That's amazing.
But I mean, ultimately,
Well, spoilers is a big issue, right? I mean, it's been debated in our forums recently
Yep.
about how much we should or shouldn't use the spoiler
What
cam.
is a spoiler?
What is a spoiler?
It was hard talking about Dark Knight. There's definitely stuff. We usually, after we do a review, because we don't talk about it, we get together and just have a vomit knowledge and comments and how we feel about it and questions about things that actually happened. And we couldn't actually do that because we didn't want to ruin it for Steve.
Yeah.
So what about you, Jeff? Anything spoiled besides Steve?
I know I was going to tell that awesome story that Dan stole from me, but no, it's okay. I honestly, I'm maniacal about spoilers. I
yes.
close my ears in the movie theater and close my eyes during trailers because I feel like at this point when I watch a trailer, I can tell what parts of the movie they're showing me, and I can
Sometimes.
9 times out of 10. It feels like if there's something that happens in the movie and then I remember an image from the trailer, I'll know, oh, that image hasn't happened yet up to this point in the movie, and I start trying to figure out how that fits into where I'm going. I don't want to know any of that. I want to surrender to the storyteller. I want to be completely taken on this ride without any foreknowledge. And I know a lot of people aren't like that. We had an email recently from a guy saying there's no such thing as spoilers. And I just disagree with that. I think I have a completely different experience if something is spoiled for me. Thank goodness I don't have any of those big movies like Steve, just somebody casually saying, oh, Kaiser Soze is blank. And it, like as he was walking in to the movie, and it's like, I think that is honestly stealing.
It is. I
stealing
An experience.
An experience.
Yeah.
So you haven't had an experience.
I mean, I can't think of any big ones, thank goodness. But like I said, I go to extreme measures to prevent that.
I actually have been very fortunate. I have a very weird way because I understand how you feel. I also don't. There's nothing minus to me watching trailers. Or even when somebody will say something, I'll be like, oh crap, that's the thing. I don't really remember, it's not that I don't remember it, it's that I don't focus on it when I'm in the movie. When I'm in the movie, it's very easy for me to just be on the ride. I don't, nothing, unless it's not a very good movie, then the things that I'm thinking about, I gotta go to the grocery store, that full chicken in the crock pot, it wasn't as good because most of it I don't eat. Those are things
But if
that
someone
I would
had
think
told
of.
you that the crock-pot chicken wasn't good and you were still cooking it,
But
you'd
that
have been
would
like,
be-
you ruined it.
Well, maybe while I was still cooking, but had they taught me at Erewhon and gone, full chicken?
Erewhon.
And I would have gone, oh, shit, breast again still? Yes, you'll like it more.
I'm
You'll eat more
like
of
you
it.
actually. I'm like in between you and Jeff because I'm lucky enough that I don't have the most wonderful memory. So if I'll watch. I'm not like you. If there's a trailer, I'm watching it. But if I've already seen that trailer, I don't need to see. I don't need to see the next iteration. I don't need to see the extended or the whatever because I've already seen enough, and I know if I see more, it's gonna stick in.
Yeah.
But I totally forget shit, and I'm glad Dark Knight I knew very little.
Well, thank you very much, Dan. If you'd like to send in your question and have it read on the show, feel free to send it to fans@totallyradshow.com.
Send us your name, your picture, and a pronunciation of your name would be great. Or just use the initial, and then that makes it easy for
Yeah,
everybody.
okay, boom.
If you want to send us a background, like Alex did, send it to fans@totallyradshow.com. Also, visit our website, totallyradshow.com. You can join our forums, discuss the spoiler issue, which has already been debated wildly in regards to us and how many spoilers we put in or don't put into our show.
Correct.
But it's a great place, great community, really cool people. Yeah.
Also on the website, and I'll just tell you right now, is the movie we're going to review next week. That is American Teen, the documentary, the It documentary of the summer. However, there's something else that's coming out the day that this show airs, Tuesday, and it's airing all week, and we're going to be discussing that at Comic-Con because of an X-Files debacle. So Joss Whedon's newest thing that he's made is actually a web series called Dr. Horrible's Strange whatever, I don't know.
It's written
But
right
it
here.
stars Neil Patrick Harris and
Fillion.
Nathan Fillion and other Buffy peeps. It's a musical and it airs Tuesday. Act 1, Act 2 is Thursday, and the following act is the 19th. It goes offline the 20th. So watch it before the 20th so you can participate in our discussion if you're going to Comic-Con or if you're just watching from home.
Cool.
Yeah, and this is the last day to say that, this is the last show we can say that, we hope to see you at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Can't say to buy your tickets because it's Friday's sold out completely and 4 days are sold
Hopefully
out.
you got your
But
tickets.
if you're going to Comic-Con, please come to our show. I think it's going to be a blast.
It is going to be a blast. Also, get your Totally Rad Show gear so we can pick you out of the crowd. Jinx.com/TRS. I think that's how it is. Follow us on Twitter for all the E3 coverage. Twitter.com/Alex Albrecht.
Jeff Canada.
/DannyTRS/SteveTRS, and I will say to people that have been following me on Twitter, I outed that I'm on doing the Hellboy thing. I hoodwinked you by leaking some material and saying how cool it was without saying I made it. So
Yeah, he
you
knew what he
might
was
get some
going.
gems. Like, did Jeff help aid and abet it a little bit?
That's it for this week's edition of the Totally Rad Show, except for one thing Dan needs to say.
My balls are going on the table. I want to look for the next game from the guys who made Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. They announced a next-gen game.
It might be.
Balls on table. There you go.
Wow. Let's
late
punch
than
out
never.
our balls. Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Camera ready? Okay, here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to the Totally Rad Show. That's what camera ready means.
I didn't say.
You said yes.
You said everyone ready, camera ready, and I'm like this.
No, you were like this, going.
That's
"I'm
how
ready,
you- I
sir."
thought that's how
and
you
then
did
you
the
went. "Ah!" That's your fault, man, not mine.
Camera. Ready?
You're not confused.
I didn't say ready. By the way, at the beginning of the show,
No, it's all
was
right.
you saying
It was
camera
in your
ready?
eyes.
And I didn't
That was
say
in your
anything.
eyes,
And you
it was in
went.
your eyes.
This week on video games. What are we doing?
What show is this? Now, you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts. The opposite direction of me?